one of the key things is learning to tap into that sense of rebel spirit, that doesn't give a fuck about rules. It wants to break them. It just doesn't care. It wants to just play its own game, basically. It's not based on the intellect or logic or any of that kind of stuff. And so really it means that operating outside of our conditioning. Hey rebels, okay, this week we're riffing on a question, which is, what if you're doing life wrong? What if you're doing life wrong? And there's a key word in there, which is doing. And I think obviously at some level there is no way that there's a right way to do life or a wrong way to do life. Having said that, where we're coming from in our life, I think is one of the most important things that we can learn to tune into and focus on, particularly on our spiritual journey, right? In rebel spirituality, like one of the key things is learning to tap into that sense of rebel spirit, that doesn't give a fuck about rules. It wants to break them. It just doesn't care. It wants to just play its own game, basically. It's not based on the intellect or logic or any of that kind of stuff. And so really it means that operating outside of our conditioning, which it's not that all of our conditioning is bad, of course. It's just that some of it can get in the way. Some of it keeps us small. Some of it holds us back. And I think being tuned into this is really, really important. So what do I mean by where we're coming from? Well, I think you'll probably notice in your day to day, the kinds of days where you're very caught in doing, you will notice, right? So you're doing the laundry, you're doing the washing, you're going to work, you're, whatever you're doing. Basically, you're very focused on the doing and not very focused on the being. So very often we're quite sped up. There's too many things to do in the day. There's the list that never ends. There's got to do this, got to do that. There's no way I'll get it all done. We're very future focused. We're looking at perhaps a goal that we have to achieve or a deadline that we have to meet, whatever it might be. Our life and our kind of consciousness is consumed with all of these things that we have to do. And it tends to have a very specific feeling for people. So perhaps you can resonate with that. And then there's the mode of being, right? Which we're always being. It's impossible to do anything without it. The awareness is the backdrop to all things, but our vision can become clouded by all of these things in the world of form, all of these actions and all these activities that we have to carry out, all of these things that we have to do. And many people, when they first come into the spiritual journey, they're like, I have no idea how to just be. Like, I've got no idea. Like, all I do is do. There's that classic line, I think, attributed to the Dalai Lama and perhaps others as well, that we're not human doings, we're human beings. But actually just being it feels like a challenge, right? Because we're in the habit of doing. So when we're coming from being, we can be doing stuff. Here's the thing, right? Sometimes being might literally just be lying on the grass in the park and just noticing the sounds and the sensations and just amplifying the pleasantness that we feel in certain parts of our body, right? Or it could just, or even more simple than that, just being there, literally just being there and noticing what it feels like to notice and be alive. And sometimes we might be at work and we might be doing all sorts of different things, but there's this sense of beingness behind it, right? Because the thing is, whenever we have that sense of beingness, which is also nowness, right? It's the feeling of being home to your life. It's the feeling of being in the moment. Things look very, very different. They often look manageable, we feel inspiration, we feel connected to source, we feel creativity, all that kind of stuff. And the moment we fully move into doing and we forget being and we come from doing, things speed up, we get overwhelmed, we might be moving towards burnout, or that's how it works for me. So it's like a massive red flag to me. It's like, wake up, Sam, wake up. So for many of us, what we think we need, and we've been trained into thinking this, is a whole bunch of stuff. So we can be okay. And so we go into doing mode in an attempt to get all of those things. But the thing that we haven't been taught, that you haven't been taught, is that right behind everything is the secret source, is being, is the feeling of just being you. What else could it be? Throughout our life, we're always going to have stuff we want to achieve and accomplish and all that kind of stuff. But that source of being is such a wonderful, it's the creative force. It's the force behind creation. What could be more powerful than that? Like we like to attribute a lot of our success to the intellect and logic, and I figured this out and I did that and I built this and I did that. But for what? Right? That stuff, we're still going to want to do stuff. We're still going to want to create stuff if we find ourselves residing in being more often. So be you. This isn't about whether you're doing life right. This is about are you being? Are you feeling the amazingness of what it is to be alive, no matter what's happening in the world of form, no matter what circumstances you're in, no matter what you need to build or create or do in that sense? Because when we're fully in the doing, like, it all gets life gets very sticky very quickly. And there are moments when being fully just being is really wonderful and lovely, and they're rich, and it's like a huge inhale. And there are times in life where we need to have a foot in both worlds, if you like, where we have to remember the truth of who we are, come into our awareness, and do stuff in the world of form. Because dinner doesn't make itself, right? And businesses don't build themselves, but businesses also don't cause happiness in people. They can give us something to chew on and they can be wonderful, but there's nothing in this life powerful enough to make any of us happy. Happiness comes from within. It's an inside job. And so being is key to that, being home to the truth of that, being in every sense of the word. So perhaps that's what we can reflect on this week. Being in every sense of the word. Are you being? Yeah. Are you noticing your being? All right, team. I hope you have the most beautiful, amazing week, and I'll see you all soon.